Laine kept looking at the palace as they moved through Alba Longa. From the place they now rested, the palace was hard to see. She had to lie on her side to see the flapping linen strung above her head, flying sheets, to the outline of the palace above. It was surreal, like an ancient drawing or some reenactment of Babylon. It was high up on the cliff that jutted out over the beautiful sparkling lake. Even as they kept walking, she looked at the palace. In structure, she thought it looked like the Daly Mansion from her hometown in Montana, which was designed in the Greco-Roman style. This was just getting too weird, she thought. The Daly Mansion was owned by the Copper King Marcus Daly, pioneer of copper and town building in Montana, circa the 1920s. Except this palace was run by King Numitor. It looked like Daly, she thought, from the coins with his face on them, except for the prehistoric clothing. In high school, their team ran a course around the Daly Mansion. She'd taken her senior pictures there, and much more recently, she did the catering event there for Celtic Days. After being passed on as Marcus Daly's homestead, the Daly Mansion was bought by the Stock Farm, which also owned R&B Ranch, where Max worked in the kitchen. R&B Ranch appealed to wealthy tourists and offered horseback riding, whitewater rafting, and the like. That must have been the reason Max was at the Celtic Festival that day last summer, before she'd passed out and become a sheep. He must have been doing something with R&B, and that's why she sometimes hated living in small towns where everyone seemed to have their hand in everything, and those who knew everyone's business, or as the Italian phrase went, avere le mani in pasta. They arrived to a small clearing before the trees where rested a small caravan. Before its time, it seemed, and Laine had to adjust her eyes to make sure it wasn't a mirage. "This is the vaulting of the oratory," Romulus told her, as if sensing her concern. "I'm just going to check in for a moment." "Holy crap," Laine said. "The vaulting of the oratory, or whatever, is Mertie's caravan." It looked the same way it did during Celtic Days when Mertie's had parked the same way and was giving fortunes. Mertie's was Laine's friend, a retired substitute teacher from Turkey who'd come to the Bitter Valley. To think, Marcus Daly had been born in Ireland and come all that way to Montana, just like Father Ravalli, who had set up the first missions, had come from Italy, and now Mertie's from Turkey. It seemed people sure could change a lot from where they started out, and collect new things to reinvent themselves. Like Pompey's funeral pyre was built from a derelict boat that had been used to sail many miles across the ocean. Funny how vastly different things can come and blend and merge cohesively. Now she understood why Romulus was there. He had come seeking support and confirmation. "I am the boy who came with his brother long ago. You gave us the prophecy about the boy who had found Rome," Romulus said. Laine was shaking her horns at the coincidence. Mertie's had been her go-to in the same way, at times when it was hard to persevere. Mertie's met them at the door. She looked the same except for she had on a wool skirt and a cape with a clasp. Her long hair was tied in a bun. "Welcome," she said. "What brings you back?" "I was 11 when you gave me the prophecy," Romulus said. He remembered the day he saw the prophet for the first time. She said it was he and not Remus who would achieve greatness. That day, Romulus felt the seedling in his heart begin to burst open, and a steady plant begin to bud. He started studying. He was teaching himself to read and write, but now with so much effort and time, and nothing seeming to pass, and even his first speech not getting the reaction he was hoping for, it was hard to not feel a little discouraged, apprehensive maybe. "I have not been back. I am a man now," Romulus said. "You said I was the twin who would build a new place, a great empire." "Of course I remember you, my dear," Mertes said. "Come through." Romulus followed Mertes into the caravan, but the door was closed on Laine, much to her disappointment. She hopped on a stack of firewood that reached the tiny window, careful so it wouldn't all come crashing down, and listened through the window. She watched as Mertes slid a chair out from under a mildewed table, and Romulus sat. "You gave me hope when I first met you of my promising future, but I'm not sure what to do next," he said. She waited a while before speaking, and then said, "I see the spread of diseases, but with it unexpected good things. Families will be split apart, brother from brother, child from parent." "How could this be good?" Laine balked from the outside, but Mertes continued, "And all of this will lead to the potential for movement and new, stronger bonds. During times of chaos there are advantages. It is easier to move within the ranks, and doors that were previously locked can be opened. You have a voice, but you have remained silent. Now your time has come, your chance to speak. You must not waste it," Mertes said. "But I tried to speak before in front of the crowd," Romulus said. "No one seemed too interested. After all, I am just a shepherd boy. My best friend is a black sheep, and I was raised by a she-wolf and a drunk," he said. "I've spent these past years of my life devoted to my goals, and while working hard on the land, cultivating the crops, and directing the sheep. I'm so tired and just don't know how much further I can go." He put his hand on his face, and Laine realized he was beginning to break down. He dragged his pointer finger across his eyes, recovering quickly. "It doesn't really matter where you come from. It's up to you to become who you're meant to be, and that's your destiny," she said, smiling. Laine shook her head. The definition of shyness was awkward around others, but used as a verb it meant a swift throw or try, a concentration of effort, of suspended disbelief that anything was possible. Heck, even that she could write a novel, or at least try. Maybe that's what she needed. Laine's name meant path or road. Sometimes life itself seemed like an extended nightmare one couldn't wake up from. But then again, there were as many paths in life, as many as there were roads in the continental U.S., or maybe more. She thought of all the roads Dad must have traveled in his semi. Why not hop onto a better road, if her name itself meant road? Truly, all that separated anyone from a new and better life was the power of their choices. She had the power and the knowledge to impact the traumas of her subconscious mind and move forward in her life. And maybe that's what Father Ravalli meant about healing. Mertes said, "I foresee an area of rapid expansion that will shift others' view of what's possible." Suddenly, she looked over at Laine, and so did Romulus, and she felt like laughing or crying. If she did not know herself, if she was nobody and nothing, maybe she could be everything. Laine must have started thrashing around in her agitation, trying to see better, and found herself slipping. Now the pyramid of firewood was coming down. She stomped her oddly cute hooves up and away from the detritus. The storm of dust arose like sifted flour. "You want to know the truth?" Laine said. "I know I can write a book. I've been preparing for this my whole life. I'm only scared that I will be successful, and how it will change my life. I'll never be able to go back to my family. It's scary. Like, where is it all leading me?" She hadn't expected to say that, the thing she didn't know how to articulate before. And although these onlookers did not understand her, she thought they looked surprisingly sympathetic. Thanks for watching my video, guys. I'll be back with another video next Wednesday. Until then, ciao!